We've talked about how a single playoff series permanently ruined careers before. We've talked about how a single possession has ruined careers. This time, however, let's take a look at how a single trade ruined the careers of these NBA studs who were once adored by many fans. The damage done to their reputation was irreparable, and for most of these guys, they fell out of the league shortly after, and were never the same player again. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today, let's take a look at how a single trade ruined these players, Carmelo Anthony forever. While the 2003 NBA Draft was a memorable and illustrious class filled with superstars that defined an entire generation, the most polarizing superstar of this bunch has to be Carmelo Anthony. Fans have always been divided on Melo. On one hand, he's always been a lethal scorer with a deep offensive repertoire that can only be matched by a few players in history. On the other hand, he never provided much of anything else besides that. His passing and defense, in particular, are two crucial aspects for any superstar, but for Melo, he never cared about anything except buckets. Some even have a hard time labeling him as a superstar, even back in his prime, because he didn't impact every single aspect of the game like you'd expect from a true superstar. But he has to put forth a better defensive effort. He's the leader of the team. It's just unacceptable for a team that comes in with a 4-game losing streak. Despite all that, he was still a highly respected scorer for many years in Denver and New York. On the Knicks, where his popularity reached a whole new level, Melo embraced the city he called home. His success on the court, however, was a mixed bag. In 7 seasons in New York, Melo led them to the playoffs only 3 times, and only 1 time past the first round. Yeah, you could say he underachieved. The anticipation of his arrival in New York was met with great expectations, which he clearly did not meet in his 7 years there. Despite this, Melo was still an incredibly popular figure, and fans still loved him dearly, even though he had plenty of faults. However, by the summer of 2017, after 4 straight years of missing the playoffs, the Knicks traded him to the Oklahoma City Thunder in a trade that initially seemed like a steal for the Thunder. All they had to give up was Enes Kanter, Doug McDermott, and a 2nd-round pick for a reigning 10-time All-Star. Seems like a good deal, right? The Thunder did not foresee what would happen next. How do you feel about coming off the bench? And the second question is, who, me? Oh, I guess that answers that part. I mean, I don't know where that started, where that came from. Hey P, they said I gotta come off the bench. Up until his arrival to OKC, Melo had never come off the bench even once in the 976 games he played for the Nuggets and Knicks. But his reaction to simply dismiss the notion that coming off the bench could be a possibility rubbed people the wrong way. There's a reason why Melo-led teams have never won the title, and in Oklahoma City, his worst qualities were on full display. Despite clearly being a shell of his former self, Melo still believed he was a superstar, and so he deserved superstar touches. Instead of accepting his role to become more of a supporting player, Melo still took 15 shots a game and called for ISOs on nearly 1/5 of his possessions. In theory, the Thunder hoped him being the 3rd scoring option on this team would help him play off the ball more, kind of like how he plays in the Olympics. Melo thrives when he's not the guy controlling the offense, so that's what OKC thought they were getting, Olympic Melo. Yet, what they actually got was the worst version of Melo we'd ever seen. He registered a career low in efficiency, and his ball-stopping tendencies never changed from New York. The result? A team that finished with just 1 more win compared to the previous year, and once again went home early with another first-round exit. The Thunder organization, under Sam Presti, has always been very quick and efficient in their decision-making, so right after the season ended, they made it clear to Melo that he was gone. According to Melo himself, Coach Billy Donovan called him while he was on vacation and straight up told Melo, "Nah, we don't think it's going to work here anymore." Melo's lone season in OKC was the turning point in his career. It was the moment when everyone realized the team will never win a championship when he has such a prominent role. With several short stints on other teams in the twilight years of his career, he slowly but surely faded into the sunset as he retired in the role that he never wanted to accept, a bench player. Russell Westbrook. I don't think I've ever seen a former MVP get blasted as much as Russell Westbrook in his later years. He's always been a polarizing player, somebody you either love or hate, but I feel like at the peak of his prime, he certainly had way more lovers than haters. That would quickly change, though. I still remember one of the biggest question marks of Westbrook was how his game was going to age as he got older. As arguably the most explosive point guard in history, a player who relies on this much athleticism has to find a way to adapt and change, or else his game will look very ugly. Unfortunately for Westbrook, it's been more of the latter. He's been skirting that fine line between adapting and stagnating since the original trade that sent him to LA. His game got examined under a microscope. Everyone started to realize perhaps he'll never change. While Westbrook still had the mindset of a superstar, he no longer had the skills of one. In the 2021-22 season, the first full year with Westbrook at point guard, the Lakers finished with an abysmal 33 wins. With him on the floor, the team had a negative 4.2 net rating. When he was off the floor, they were much better, though still not great. In combination with the intense media circus in Los Angeles, this single trade, along with his salary, utterly destroyed his reputation forever. Heck, even his short-lived Clippers tenure was a hit or miss. Sure, he had some great moments and briefly revived his career, but then you fast-forward to the 2024 playoffs, and Westbrook had another classic Westbrook series, as he shot 13 for 50 in the series against Dallas, good for 26% from the field. I wish I said he contributed in other areas, but he really didn't, with fewer than 2 assists per game. Needless to say, Westbrook's tumultuous later years have only damaged his status, but hopefully, down the road, we'll look back to his prime and think of him fondly for what he's accomplished. He single-handedly ignited the triple-double revolution and made a joke out of this once prominent stat, and it's no longer glorified like it used to be. Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson was once considered the most influential player in basketball, as his cultural impact extended far beyond the court. However, have you ever wondered why we never talk about his career after Philly? He spent 10 years in Philly, but after that, Iverson had arguably the worst later years of any superstar in history, culminating in his departure from the NBA at the age of 34. But let's rewind a bit. At the beginning of the 2008-2009 season, the Nuggets had a falling out with Iverson, and he got traded to the Detroit Pistons. His initial reaction was that of joy, as he stated to the press, "I'm very excited about this trade." For the Pistons, after several playoff disappointments, they went in a different direction and thought Iverson would provide a new dimension to this team and perhaps even boost ticket sales. The excitement went both ways, as Iverson needed a fresh new start to revitalize his career. Little did he know, this trade would actually ignite his downfall. In the beginning, he seamlessly fit in and became the Pistons' primary scorer, but as the season progressed, Iverson saw his role slowly decrease. It got to the point where he was getting outplayed by the Pistons' 22-year-old sophomore Rodney Stuckey, so Iverson got benched. Can you guess what happens next? Yep, he hated it so much that instead of supporting his teammate, he made this statement to the media. "I'm in a position now that I've never been in my whole life. I can't be effective playing this way. I'm not used to it. It's tough for me both mentally and physically." Like Melo, Iverson never felt comfortable coming off the bench and believed he was far too skilled to be taking a back seat to somebody like Rodney Stuckey. Then it got worse. In the summer of '09, he barely got any lucrative offers. For a guy who's literally on a streak of 10 consecutive All-Star selections, that's crazy. He's Allen Iverson, for crying out loud. How can he not get a contract? But it became understood among the NBA community that Iverson was demanding a far bigger role than any team was willing to give him. Eventually, when he settled for a measly one-year, $3 million deal with Memphis, he left the team after playing just 3 games for them, indicating that once again he refused to come off the bench and accept a lesser role. "I don't know any Olympian that comes off the bench. I don't know any All-Star that comes off the bench. I don't know any former MVP that comes off the bench. I don't know any 3-time scoring champion that comes off the bench," I don't know any first-team All-NBA player that comes off the bench. Why Allen Iverson? All of a sudden, nobody wanted him, and his career ended soon after. The sad thing is, Iverson still had gas left in the tank and could have easily contributed to a team. But he simply wasn't willing to accept a smaller role. So this Detroit trade marked the end of a legendary career, and it would never be the same after that. Anyway, that's all, folks.